What would you do if someone hit your child and laughed about it in court? 28-year-old Rachel Morrison was about to find out that mocking a judge comes with consequences she never imagined. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in the next few minutes will restore your faith in justice. This isn't just another courtroom story. This is about a mother's tears, a judge's wisdom, and a moment that changed everything. Drop a comment below telling us if you've ever witnessed real justice being served, because you're about to see it unfold in the most unexpected way. The date was March 14, 2023, Providence, Rhode Island, Courtroom 4B. The air conditioning hummed softly as dozens of people waited for their cases to be called. Among them sat Rachel Morrison, scrolling through her phone, designer sunglasses perched on top of her perfectly styled blonde hair. Her Louis Vuitton purse sat on the bench beside her. She wore a smirk that would soon disappear. Like this video if you believe karma is real, because you're about to witness it in action. Judge Frank Caprio, 79 years old, walked into the courtroom with the quiet dignity that had made him beloved across Providence for over 30 years. His gray hair was neatly combed. His eyes held a warmth that countless defendants had found either comforting or terrifying, depending on their attitude. Today, those eyes would see something that would test even his legendary patience. The bailiff called the first few cases minor traffic violations, parking tickets. Judge Caprio handled each with his signature blend of compassion and common sense. An elderly man who couldn't afford his parking fine got it reduced. A young mother struggling with expired registration received community service instead of jail time. The courtroom had seen this pattern for decades. Understanding first. Punishment only when necessary. Then they called case number 2023 CV 4782. Commonwealth versus Rachel Elizabeth Morrison. Rachel stood up slowly, deliberately. She adjusted her designer blouse and walked to the podium with the confidence of someone who had never faced real consequences. Her heels clicked against the tile floor. The sound echoed. Share this with someone who needs to see what real justice looks like. Ms. Morrison, Judge Caprio began, looking down at the file before him. You're here today regarding an incident that occurred on February 28th at approximately 3:45 p.m. on Wickenden Street. A hit-and-run involving a pedestrian. Is that correct? Quote. Rachel leaned into the microphone. That's what they're claiming, Your Honor, but I barely tapped the person. It's being completely blown out of proportion. The courtroom went silent. Barely tapped. Those words would haunt her. Judge Caprio's eyebrows raised slightly. He removed his reading glasses and looked directly at her. Barely tapped? Ms. Morrison, according to the police report, the victim was transported to Rhode Island Hospital with significant injuries. Quote. Rachel shrugged. Actually shrugged. Well, Your Honor, if they had been paying attention instead of walking in the middle of the street, none of this would have happened. I mean, I had the right of way. Quote. Officer Daniel Chen, the responding officer, sat in the back of the courtroom, his jaw clenched. He had been a police officer for 12 years and had seen countless defendants show remorse. This was different. He exchanged glances with his partner, Officer Maria Santos. They both knew this wasn't going to end well for Ms. Morrison. The right of way, Judge Caprio repeated slowly. He leaned back in his chair. Ms. Morrison, did you stop after the collision? Quote. I didn't think it was necessary. Like I said, it was barely anything. Plus, I had an appointment at Salon Belleza that I was already late for. Do you know how hard it is to get an appointment with Marco? Quote. Someone in the gallery gasped audibly. Drop a comment telling us what you would have said in that moment if you were the judge. Judge Caprio closed his eyes briefly. In his 3 decades on the bench, he had developed an almost supernatural patience. But this was testing even his limits. He opened the file again and pulled out a document. Ms. Morrison, I'm looking at the victim impact statement here. Would you like me to read it? Quote. Rachel examined her manicured nails. If you feel it's necessary, Your Honor. I do feel it's necessary, Judge Caprio said, his voice dropping an octave. The victim was 7-year-old Emma Chen. She was walking home from Franklin Elementary School with her older brother, 12-year-old Jason. According to witnesses, you were traveling approximately 45 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour school zone. Rachel's smirk faltered for just a second. Then she recovered. Kids should know better than to cross without looking. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The bailiff called for order. Officer Chen stood up from his seat in the back. Judge Caprio held up his hand, signaling for calm. He looked at the officer and nodded. Officer Chen understood. The judge had this under control. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see justice served the right way, because this judge is about to teach a master class. Ms. Morrison. Judge Caprio continued, his voice now steel wrapped in velvet. Emma Chen suffered a fractured pelvis, a broken left leg, 3 cracked ribs, and a severe concussion. She spent 9 days in the pediatric intensive care unit. She missed 6 weeks of school. She still walks with a noticeable limp. According to her therapist's report, she experiences severe anxiety and panic attacks whenever she hears a car engine reverend. Rachel shifted her weight. For the first time, a flicker of something crossed her face. Uncertainty, perhaps. Or maybe just irritation that this was taking longer than expected. Your Honor, I understand the child was hurt, but accidents happen. That's why we have insurance. My insurance company has already been in contact with the family. This should be a civil matter, not a criminal one. Judge Caprio placed both hands flat on the bench in front of him. The gesture was calm, but everyone in the courtroom recognized it. The judge was about to deliver one of his legendary moments of truth. Like this video if you believe every action has consequences. Ms. Morrison, let me explain something to you. When you hit Emma Chen, you didn't just injure a child. You traumatized an entire family. You destroyed a sense of safety that can never be fully restored. And then, you made a choice. You chose to drive away. You chose your hair appointment over a child's life. It wasn't like that, Rachel protested, her voice rising slightly. I didn't know she was that hurt. I thought she just fell down. You didn't know because you didn't stop to check, Judge Caprio said. You didn't call 911. You didn't provide any assistance whatsoever. 12-year-old Jason did. A 12-year-old child had to call for help while his little sister bled on the sidewalk because you couldn't be bothered to stop. Quote, Rachel's face began to redden. Whether from embarrassment or anger, it was hard to tell. I don't appreciate the way you're characterizing this, Your Honor. I'm a respected member of this community. I volunteer at the animal shelter. I donate to charity. One mistake shouldn't define me. The words hung in the air like poison gas. One mistake. As if leaving a 7-year-old bleeding on the pavement was equivalent to forgetting to return a library book. Judge Caprio stood up. He rarely stood during proceedings, but this moment required it. At 79, he still commanded the room like a man half his age. Ms. Morrison, I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to show you exactly what your one mistake looks like. He nodded to the bailiff. Please dim the lights and prepare the video evidence. Share this video with everyone who believes in accountability, because you need to see what happens next. The lights dimmed. A screen descended from the ceiling. Rachel looked confused, then annoyed. Your Honor, is this really necessary? I've already seen the police report. You've seen words on a page, Judge Caprio said. Now you're going to see the truth. The video began to play. Surveillance footage from Giovanni's Pizza, located on the corner of Wickenden Street. The timestamp read February 28th, 3 hours 44 minutes and 37 seconds p.m. The image quality was crystal clear. A silver BMW 5 Series came into frame, traveling fast. Too fast. Much too fast for a school zone. 2 children appeared on the screen, walking in the crosswalk. Emma Chen, tiny for her age, wearing a pink backpack covered in unicorn stickers. Jason, protective and alert, held her hand as they crossed. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. The BMW never slowed down. It struck Emma with such force that her small body was thrown 15 feet through the air. The backpack exploded on impact, sending books and papers flying like tragic confetti. Jason's scream was silent on the surveillance footage, but everyone in the courtroom could imagine it. The BMW's brake lights flashed once. Just once. Then the car accelerated and disappeared from frame. Jason ran to his sister's crumpled form. Even in the grainy surveillance footage, his panic was visible. He knelt beside her, his hands hovering over her body. Afraid to touch her, afraid she was dead. Then he pulled out his phone with shaking hands and made the call that would save his sister's life. The video stopped. The lights came back up. The courtroom was completely silent. Several people were crying. Drop a comment below if you can even imagine what that family went through. Rachel Morrison stood at the podium, her face now completely pale. The smirk was gone. Her hands gripped the edges of the podium so tightly her knuckles had turned white. I didn't realize it was that bad. You didn't realize because you didn't care to know, Judge Caprio said, sitting back down. But Ms. Morrison, we're not done. Bailiff, please bring in the witnesses. A side door opened. Officer Emma Chen walked in first, followed by a woman and a teenage boy. The woman was Jennifer Chen, 36, a registered nurse at Rhode Island Hospital. Her face was drawn, exhausted, aged by trauma. Beside her was Jason, wearing his Franklin Middle School hoodie, his eyes fixed on Rachel Morrison with an intensity that made the defendant look away. They took seats in the witness area. Jennifer Chen's hands trembled as she held a folder containing medical records, therapy bills, and photographs. Photographs no parent should ever have to look at. Hit that subscribe button because this testimony is going to change everything. Judge Caprio spoke gently. Mrs. Chen, I know this is difficult. Take your time. Tell us what the past 6 weeks have been like for your family. Jennifer Chen took a deep breath. When she spoke, her voice cracked with emotion. Your Honor, my daughter Emma used to be fearless. She loved dancing, gymnastics, playing outside. She wanted to be a veterinarian. After the accident, she's afraid of everything. She won't go near windows facing the street. She has nightmares every single night. She wakes up screaming that the car is coming back. Rachel shifted uncomfortably. She looked down at her expensive shoes, anywhere but at the woman speaking. The physical injuries will heal eventually, Jennifer continued. The doctors say she'll walk normally again in another few months with physical therapy. But the psychological damage? That might never heal. She sees a therapist twice a week. She's on anxiety medication, she's 7 years old, and she's on medication because she can't function without it. Quote, Jennifer's voice grew stronger, anger mixing with grief. But you want to know the worst part, Your Honor? The worst part is explaining to my daughter why the person who hurt her didn't stop. Why they drove away. Why her life wasn't worth 60 seconds of someone's time. Like this video if this makes your blood boil, because justice is coming and it's going to be beautiful. Jason Chen raised his hand slightly. Judge Caprio nodded at him. Son, did you want to say something? Quote, Jason stood up. At 12 years old, he already had the bearing of someone much older. Trauma does that. It steals childhood and replaces it with a harsh understanding of the world's cruelty. Your Honor, I want to tell you what happened after she drove away. Go ahead, Jason. I was holding Emma's hand when the car hit her. The impact pulled her right out of my grip. I felt her fingers slip away from mine. His voice broke slightly, but he pushed through. She flew so far. When I got to her, there was blood everywhere. She wasn't moving. I thought she was dead. I thought my little sister was dead and I couldn't do anything to stop it. Quote, Rachel Morrison's shoulders began to shake. Tears started running down her carefully made-up face, creating dark trails of mascara. But Jason wasn't finished. I called 911 and I tried to remember everything I learned in the babysitting safety course. Don't move her in case her spine is hurt. Keep her warm. Tell her it's going to be okay even if you don't believe it. I sat there on the concrete with my sister's blood on my hands for 8 minutes until the ambulance came. 8 minutes that felt like 8 hours. Quote, he turned to look directly at Rachel. And you couldn't even stop for 8 seconds. The courtroom was absolutely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Rachel Morrison was openly sobbing now, her designer clothes and perfect makeup unable to hide the weight of what she'd done. Share this with someone who needs to understand that actions have consequences. Judge Caprio let the silence sit for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice carrying the wisdom of 3 decades on the bench. Ms. Morrison, I've presided over thousands of cases. I've seen people make mistakes. Real mistakes. Errors in judgment that they regret immediately. and spend years trying to make right. But I've also seen something else. I've seen people who believe the rules don't apply to them. People who think their time, their convenience, their lives matter more than everyone else's. He paused, making sure his next words landed with full impact. "Which one are you?" quote. Rachel wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I don't know, Your Honor. I thought I was a good person. I really did. But good people don't do what I did." It was the first honest thing she'd said since entering the courtroom. "No," Judge Caprio agreed, "they don't. But here's what I believe, Ms. Morrison. I believe that people can change. I believe that even in our worst moments, we have the capacity for growth, for remorse, for redemption. But redemption isn't free. It costs something. It requires something of you." He looked down at the documents before him. The district attorney is recommending 6 months in the adult correctional institutions, 3 years probation, and permanent license revocation. Based on your behavior here today, I could easily impose the maximum sentence. Hit and run with serious bodily injury carries up to 10 years. Rachel's legs nearly gave out. She gripped the podium for support. "But I'm not going to do that," Judge Caprio said. "Drop a comment telling us if you think the judge is being too lenient or if mercy is the right call here. I'm going to offer you a choice, Ms. Morrison, a choice that will determine what kind of person you really are." The entire courtroom leaned forward. This was the moment everything would change. Hit that subscribe button because you need to hear this choice and what happens next. "Here's your choice," Judge Caprio said. "Option 1. I sentence you to 6 months incarceration, 3 years probation, and you never drive again. You serve your time, you move on with your life, and Emma Chen becomes just another statistic in your rearview mirror." Quote. He paused, letting that option sink in. "Option 2, I sentence you to 90 days with 60 days suspended. You serve 30 days on weekends so you can keep your job. But here's what else you do. For the next 3 years, every single Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, you volunteer at Franklin Elementary School. You help with traffic control. You watch children cross the street safely. You look into the faces of 7-year-olds and remember what you almost destroyed." Rachel's tears were flowing freely now, but she was listening intently. "Additionally," Judge Caprio continued, "you will pay for Emma Chen's therapy costs. Not through insurance, out of your own pocket. Every session, every medication, every follow-up appointment. You will write Emma a letter every month for the next year. Not apologizing. Apologizing is too easy. You will write to her about what you're learning, about how you're changing, about why her life matters." He leaned forward. "And here's the final part, Ms. Morrison. Once a month for the next 3 years, you will meet with students at Providence High School and tell them your story. Tell them what happened. Show them that surveillance video. Let them see the worst thing you ever did and explain to them why they should be better than you were." The courtroom was electrified. This wasn't standard sentencing. This was justice with purpose. This was punishment designed to create transformation. Like this video if you think this is the most powerful sentence you've ever heard. If you complete all of this, every single requirement, with documented proof and testimonials from the school and the Chen family, I will reduce your probation and restore your driving privileges with restrictions. You will have earned a second chance. But if you fail, if you miss even one requirement, you will serve the full 6 months and you will never drive again. Do you understand? Quote, Rachel Morrison looked up at the judge through tear-blurred eyes. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Your Honor, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve any kindness from you or from this family." "You're right," Judge Caprio said simply. "You don't. But Emma Chen didn't deserve what happened to her either. Jason didn't deserve to see his sister almost die. Mrs. Chen didn't deserve to spend 9 days wondering if her daughter would survive. Life isn't about what we deserve, Ms. Morrison. It's about what we do with the chances we're given." He looked over at Jennifer Chen. "Mrs. Chen, I cannot make this decision without your input. This sentence would require Ms. Morrison to be in your daughter's life, indirectly, for the next 3 years. If you are uncomfortable with this, I will impose the standard sentence immediately. You have absolutely no obligation to offer mercy." The courtroom held its breath. This was the moment that would define everyone involved. Share this with someone who believes in the power of forgiveness. Jennifer Chen stood up slowly. She looked at Rachel Morrison for a long moment. The defendant couldn't meet her eyes. Then Jennifer spoke, and her words carried the weight of profound suffering and even more profound strength. "Your Honor, I'm a nurse. I've spent my entire adult life trying to heal people, trying to ease suffering. But when someone hurt my daughter and drove away, I wanted vengeance. I wanted her to suffer like we suffered. I wanted her to know what it feels like to have everything taken away in one moment." She took a shuddering breath. "But Emma asked me something 3 days ago. She asked me if the lady who hit her said she was sorry. And I had to tell her no. I had to tell my 7-year-old daughter that some people hurt others and never even say they're sorry." Jennifer turned to Rachel. "Look at me." Rachel slowly raised her eyes. "If Judge Caprio gives you this chance, you will take it seriously. You will show up every single day. You will write those letters. You will stand in front of those teenagers and tell them the truth. Because if you don't, if you waste this opportunity, I will personally ensure you face the maximum penalty. Do you understand me?" Quote. Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I promise you, Mrs. Chen. I promise I will do everything." Everything. Drop a comment telling us if you could show this kind of mercy after someone hurt your child. Judge Caprio brought his gavel down firmly. "Rachel Elizabeth Morrison, I hereby sentence you to 90 days incarceration with 60 days suspended, to be served on consecutive weekends. 3 years probation with the special conditions outlined in the court record. You will begin your community service at Franklin Elementary School starting next Tuesday. Your first therapy payment for Emma Chen is due within 7 days. Your first letter is due within 14 days. Failure to comply with any requirement will result in immediate incarceration for the maximum sentence." He paused. "Do you accept these terms?" Quote. Rachel's voice was clear despite her tears. "I do, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to be better than I was." "Don't thank me," Judge Caprio said. "Thank Mrs. Chen. Thank her son. Thank your victim. And then spend the next 3 years proving you deserved their mercy." The gavel came down again. Court is adjourned. As the bailiff led Rachel Morrison out to complete her processing paperwork, she stopped next to the Chen family. Jason stood up, placing himself slightly in front of his mother and between Rachel and where Emma would have been sitting if she'd been present. Rachel looked at them, her face raw with emotion. "I know saying sorry isn't enough. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I need you to know that I am so deeply sorry. I will spend every day of the next 3 years proving it." Quote. Jennifer Chen's response was quiet but firm. "Then do it. Prove it. Because my daughter will be watching." Hit that subscribe button because the story is just beginning and you need to see what happens next. The courtroom slowly emptied. Officer Daniel Chen approached his sister-in-law and nephew. "You made the right call, Jennifer. Emma needs to see that justice doesn't always mean vengeance." "I hope so," Jennifer said, exhaustion evident in every word. "I really hope so." Quote. As the Chen family left the courtroom, Judge Caprio sat at his bench, alone with his thoughts. His clerk, Margaret Reynolds, a 62-year-old veteran of the court system, approached cautiously. "Judge, in all my years working with you, I've never seen a sentence quite like that." Judge Caprio looked up at her. "Margaret, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've learned that sometimes the harshest punishment is making someone face what they've done every single day. Prison would be easier for Ms. Morrison. She'd serve her time and move on. This sentence? This will change her or break her. We'll see which. And if it breaks her, quote, then she'll serve the full sentence and learn nothing. But if it changes her, then maybe, just maybe, we've done something more valuable than punishment. We've created prevention. Every teenager who hears her story is one less potential hit-and-run driver. Every letter she writes to Emma is one more moment of reflection. Every day she stands at that crosswalk is one more day she remembers the cost of her choices. Margaret nodded slowly. "You really believe people can change?" Quote, "I have to," Judge Caprio said, "because if I don't believe that, then what's the point of any of this?" Quote, "Like this video if you believe people deserve second chances when they're truly remorseful." The weeks that followed were transformative for everyone involved. Rachel Morrison reported to the adult correctional institutions the following Saturday morning at 6 a.m. to begin her weekend incarceration. The corrections officers who processed her in had heard about the case. The surveillance video had been on local news. Social media had exploded with opinions about the sentence. Some called Judge Caprio soft. Others praised his innovative approach. Rachel didn't care about the opinions. She cared about proving she could change. Her first weekend in jail was brutal, not because of the conditions, though they were certainly unpleasant, but because she had nothing to do but think. Think about Emma Chen's small body flying through the air. Think about Jason's desperate 911 call. Think about how close she'd come to ending a child's life because she couldn't be bothered to slow down. She had a cellmate named Maria Rodriguez, a 41-year-old woman serving time for embezzlement. Maria had been locked up for 8 months and had become something of a mentor to weekend inmates. "First time inside?" Maria asked as Rachel sat on the thin mattress, staring at the gray concrete walls. "Yes," Rachel whispered. "What are you in for?" Quote, Rachel took a breath. This was part of it. Part of facing what she'd done. Hit and run. I hit a 7-year-old girl and drove away because I had a hair appointment. Maria whistled low. "Damn, that's cold." "I know." Rachel looked at her hands. The same hands that had gripped the steering wheel. The same hands that had chosen to keep driving. "I don't know who I was that day. I don't know how I became that person." Share this video with someone who's ever made a choice they regret, because redemption is possible, but it's never easy. "You know what the hardest part is?" Maria said, lying back on her bunk. "It's not the time. It's not the orange jumpsuit or the terrible food or any of that. It's looking in the mirror and realizing you're capable of things you never thought you'd do. We all like to think we're good people. Then one day we make a choice that proves we're not as good as we thought." Rachel nodded, understanding completely. "How do you live with it?" Quote, "You don't live with it," Maria said. "You change because of it. You use it. You let it transform you into someone better, or you let it destroy you. Those are your only options." That conversation echoed in Rachel's mind throughout her weekend. When she was released Sunday evening, she drove home in silence. Her BMW had been impounded, replaced by a modest Toyota Camry provided by her insurance company as part of her probation requirements. The difference was symbolic, and she felt it acutely. That Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 p.m., Rachel Morrison stood on the corner of Wickenden Street outside Franklin Elementary School wearing an orange safety vest. Her job was simple: help children cross the street safely, stand in the crosswalk, hold the stop sign, make sure every child made it to the other side. The school's traffic coordinator was a retired teacher named Dorothy Patterson, 68 years old, with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. "You're the woman from the news," Dorothy said matter-of-factly when Rachel arrived. "Yes, ma'am," Rachel replied, unable to meet her eyes. "Good. Then you know what's at stake." Dorothy handed her a stop sign. "Rule 1. You never, ever take your eyes off the children. Rule 2. You assume every driver is distracted. Rule 3. You protect these kids like they're your own. Drop a comment telling us if you think this is appropriate punishment or too lenient." Rachel took her position at the crosswalk, the exact crosswalk where Emma Chen had been hit. She knew it was intentional. Judge Caprio had specified this school, this location. She would stand where Emma had stood every single Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years. The dismissal bell rang at 3 p.m. Children poured out of the school building, a joyful chaos of backpacks and shouted goodbyes and plans for afternoon playdates. Rachel watched them, really watched them, seeing them as individual human beings for the first time, each one someone's Emma, each one precious and irreplaceable. A silver sedan approached, going slightly too fast. Rachel stepped into the crosswalk, with her stop sign raised high. The car slowed, stopped. 3 children crossed safely, laughing about something that had happened at lunch. Rachel's heart was pounding. That could have been her. That driver, distracted, in a hurry, not seeing the children. That could have been her 6 weeks ago. After an hour, the crowd thinned. Dorothy approached her. "You did well for your first day. You'll be back Thursday." Quote, "Yes, ma'am. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years." Dorothy studied her face. "You know what I think? I think Judge Caprio gave you a gift. He gave you the chance to save the lives you could have destroyed. Don't waste it." Quote, "I won't," Rachel promised. As she drove home that evening, she realized she was exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. She'd spent an hour hyper-aware of every vehicle, every child, every potential disaster. She'd spent an hour living with the consequences of her choices. And she had 779 more days ahead of her. Hit that subscribe button, because the transformation is just beginning, and it's going to get even more powerful. That weekend, Rachel sat down to write her first letter to Emma Chen. She'd bought a journal, high-quality paper, and a good pen. If she was going to do this, she was going to do it right. But sitting there, staring at the blank page, she had no idea where to start. How do you write to a child you almost killed? She wrote 5 drafts before she managed anything remotely acceptable. The final version was simple and honest. "Dear Emma, my name is Rachel Morrison. I'm the person who hit you with my car on February 28th. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't want to hear from me either. But Judge Caprio asked me to write to you once a month, not to apologize, because saying sorry isn't enough, but to tell you what I'm learning. Today was my first day standing at the crosswalk outside your school. I helped 42 kids cross safely. Every single one of them reminded me of you. Every single one of them could have been you. I stood in the place where I hit you, and I understood for the first time how close I came to destroying everything. I'm learning that I was selfish. I'm learning that my time, my convenience, my stupid hair appointment meant nothing compared to your life. I'm learning that I need to be better. Not for me. For every child who will cross that street while I'm there to protect them. I hope someday you can cross that street again without being afraid. I hope someday you can trust the world again. I know I can't give that back to you, but I'm going to try to make sure what happened to you never happens to another child. That's my promise to you. I'll write again next month. Rachel Morrison." Quote, she sealed the letter and mailed it before she could second-guess herself. Jennifer Chen received it 3 days later. She read it twice before deciding whether to show it to Emma. "Baby," Jennifer said, sitting on Emma's bed that evening, "remember you asked if the lady said she was sorry?" Quote, Emma nodded, hugging her stuffed bunny. She still wasn't sleeping well. The nightmares came less frequently now, but they still came. "She wrote you a letter. Do you want to hear it?" Quote, Emma thought about it, then nodded again. Jennifer read the letter aloud. Emma was quiet for a long moment after it ended. Then she asked, "Is she really standing at my school?" Quote, "Yes, honey. She helps kids cross the street now. She makes sure they're safe. Does she make sure they don't get hit like me?" Quote, "Yes, baby. That's exactly what she does." Emma processed this information in the way 7-year-olds do, with a directness that adults often lack. Is she sorry? Quote, "I think she is, honey. I think she's very sorry." "Okay," Emma said simply. "Can you read it again?" Quote, like this video if children's capacity for forgiveness amazes you, because Emma's response will change everything. Jennifer read the letter again, and something shifted in Emma's eyes. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding that the person who hurt her was trying to be better. That night, Jennifer wrote her own letter. She sent it to Judge Caprio. "Your Honor, I wanted you to know that Emma heard Rachel Morrison's letter today. For the first time since the accident, she asked if we could drive past her school. She wanted to see if Ms. Morrison was really there. We went on Thursday afternoon. Emma watched from the car as Ms. Morrison helped children cross the street. My daughter cried, but not from fear. I think she cried because she finally understood that something good could come from something terrible. I don't know if I made the right choice in agreeing to your sentence, but I know that tonight, for the first time in 6 weeks, Emma said she wants to go back to school. She said if the lady is there to keep kids safe, maybe it's safe enough for her too. That has to mean something. Thank you for believing people can change. Thank you for making mercy active instead of passive. Jennifer Chen. Judge Caprio read the letter in his chambers. He was alone, as he preferred to be when dealing with the emotional weight of his work. He reread the line about Emma wanting to return to school. That was the point. That was always the point. Justice wasn't just about punishing the guilty. It was about healing the wounded. 3 months passed. Rachel Morrison completed her weekend incarceration without incident. She showed up at Franklin Elementary every Tuesday and Thursday, rain or shine. She paid Emma's therapy bills on time. She wrote her monthly letters. And in late June, she gave her first presentation at Providence High School. Share this video because this presentation is going to show the true power of accountability. The auditorium held 200 students, mostly sophomores and juniors. Kids who were about to get their licenses or had just gotten them. Kids who thought they were invincible behind the wheel. The vice principal, Thomas Brennan, introduced Rachel without sugarcoating anything. Students, our speaker today is Rachel Morrison. 3 months ago, she made a choice that nearly killed a 7-year-old girl. She's here to tell you about that choice and what it cost. I expect you to listen respectfully because what she has to say could save your life or someone else's. Rachel walked to the podium on shaking legs. She'd faced her weekend in jail. She'd stood at the crosswalk. She'd written her letters. But this? Standing in front of 200 teenagers and confessing the worst thing she'd ever done? This was terrifying. "Hi," she began, her voice barely steady. "My name is Rachel Morrison, and I almost killed a child because I was in a hurry." The room was silent. Teenagers can smell insincerity from a mile away. But they can also recognize raw, painful truth. And Rachel was about to deliver it. On February 28th, I was driving in a school zone. I was going 45 miles per hour. The speed limit was 25. I was late for a hair appointment, and I thought getting there on time mattered more than slowing down. Then I hit Emma Chen. She pressed a button, and the surveillance video appeared on the screen behind her. The same video Judge Caprio had shown in court. The students gasped as they watched Emma's small body fly through the air. Several covered their mouths in shock. Drop a comment telling us if every new driver should have to watch this video. "That's what I did," Rachel said, her voice breaking. "And then I kept driving. I drove away. I went to my hair appointment. I got my highlights touched up while a 12-year-old boy called 911 for his sister. While Emma was rushed to the hospital, while her mother wondered if her daughter would survive." She paused, letting it sink in. "I want you to understand something. I'm not a monster. I'm not evil. I'm just someone who made terrible choices. I thought my time mattered more than someone else's safety. I thought rules didn't really apply to me. I thought I was a good person, so the consequences of my actions wouldn't be that bad." A student in the third row raised her hand. Rachel nodded at her. "Yes." Quote, "Are you in jail?" the girl asked. "I served 30 days on weekends," Rachel answered. "But that's not my real sentence. My real sentence is standing at that crosswalk for 3 years, knowing I'll never erase what I did. My real sentence is looking at 7-year-olds every Tuesday and Thursday and seeing Emma's face. My real sentence is living with the knowledge that I traumatized a child and her family because I couldn't be bothered to press the brake pedal." Another hand went up. A boy in a football jersey. "Do you think you've changed?" Quote. Rachel considered the question carefully. "I think I'm changing." I don't know if you ever finish changing after something like this. Every day I make the choice to be better than I was. Some days it's easier than others. Some days I stand at that crosswalk and I can barely breathe because I'm so aware of how close I came to ending a life. But that awareness, that's what keeps me vigilant. That's what makes me the kind of person who will never, ever make that choice again. Hit that subscribe button because these students are about to ask the question that changes everything. A girl in the front row raised her hand tentatively. "Can we meet Emma?" Quote. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "That's not my decision to make. Emma is still recovering. She's still in therapy. She still has nightmares. Whether she ever wants to meet me or meet anyone connected to this is entirely up to her and her family. But I can tell you this. She's braver than I'll ever be. She's going back to school next month. She's facing her fear while I'm trying to make amends for causing it." Quote, "The presentation continued for another 40 minutes. Rachel showed therapy bills. She read excerpts from Emma's therapy reports with Jennifer's permission, names redacted. She showed photos of Emma's injuries. Not to be sensational, but to make it real. To make these teenagers understand that this wasn't a movie or a news story. This was real life with real consequences." At the end, Vice Principal Brennan opened the floor for final questions. A quiet boy in the back raised his hand. "Do you think Judge Caprio was too easy on you?" Quote, Rachel shook her head slowly. "No, I think he gave me the hardest sentence possible. Prison would have been easier. This, living with what I did every single day, facing the community, telling my story over and over, this is so much harder. And it's exactly what I needed. Like this video, if you think public accountability is more powerful than prison time." As the students filed out, several approached Rachel. Some thanked her for her honesty. Others just looked at her with a new understanding of consequences. One girl, a junior named Alyssa Martinez, waited until the end. "Ms. Morrison, I got a speeding ticket last month. In a school zone. I was mad about it because I thought the cop was just trying to fill a quota. After hearing you today, I'm grateful. That ticket might have saved someone's life." Rachel's eyes welled up again. This was why Judge Caprio had designed the sentence this way. This was the ripple effect. "You're right. That ticket probably did save someone. Maybe you can remember that every time you're tempted to speed." "I will," Alyssa promised. "I definitely will." That evening, Rachel wrote her 4th monthly letter to Emma. It was longer this time, more detailed. She told Emma about the presentation, about Alyssa and the speeding ticket, about how talking about the accident was hard but necessary. She ended with a question. "Emma, I know you're going back to school soon. I want you to know that I'll be there at the crosswalk every Tuesday and Thursday. If that makes you uncomfortable, please tell your mom. I can request a different school for my community service. The last thing I want is to cause you more fear. You've already been through enough because of me. I hope you have a wonderful first week back. I hope your friends make you smile. I hope you remember how brave you are. Rachel." Emma received the letter 3 days before school started. She read it herself this time, her reading skills much improved from all the books she'd consumed during her recovery. Then she asked her mother, "Can we go see her?" Quote, Jennifer was surprised. "See Rachel? At the crosswalk?" Quote, "Yes. I want to see if she's really there. Drop a comment and tell us what you think Emma is feeling right now." On the last Thursday before school started, Jennifer drove Emma to Franklin Elementary at 2:30 p.m. They parked across the street where they could observe without being seen. Emma pressed her face to the window, watching intently. Rachel was there, wearing her orange safety vest, holding her stop sign. School hadn't started yet, so there were no children to help. But she was there anyway, standing at her post. As Jennifer and Emma watched, a mother walked by with a stroller. Rachel smiled at them, made conversation, helped them cross, even though they didn't need help. "She's really there," Emma whispered. "Yes, baby, she really is. Can I talk to her?" Quote. Jennifer's heart clenched. "Are you sure you want to?" Quote. Emma nodded. "I'm scared, but I want to." Jennifer got out of the car and walked around to help Emma out. Emma still walked with a slight limp, though it was improving. They crossed the street together. Rachel was checking her watch, getting ready to leave since dismissal time hadn't brought any students on this summer day. Then she looked up and saw them. Jennifer Chen and Emma, walking toward her. Rachel's face went pale. Her hands began to shake. This was the moment she'd been dreading and hoping for in equal measure. The moment she would face Emma Chen directly. Emma stopped about 10 feet away. She stared at Rachel with those same brown eyes that Rachel saw in her nightmares. Emma was smaller than Rachel had imagined. So tiny. How had she not seen her in the crosswalk that day? "Hi," Emma said softly. Rachel's voice failed her for a moment. Then she managed. "Hi, Emma. I got your letters. Thank you for letting me send them." Emma took a step closer. Jennifer stayed back, letting her daughter handle this her own way. "Why didn't you stop?" Quote. The question was simple but devastating. Rachel knelt down so she was at Emma's eye level, though even kneeling she was taller than the 7-year-old. "Because I was selfish and wrong. Because I thought what I needed to do was more important than anything else. Because I was the kind of person who made terrible choices." Are you still that person? Quote. Hit that subscribe button because Emma's next words will absolutely destroy you. "I'm trying not to be," Rachel said honestly. "Every day I try to be better. Every day I stand here and help kids cross safely. Every day I try to be the person I should have been on February 28th. Emma studied her face with an intensity no adult could match. Children see truth differently. They see it more clearly. "Do you have nightmares?" Quote. Rachel was startled by the question. "Sometimes. I dream about the accident. I dream about what could have happened if you hadn't survived." "I have nightmares too," Emma said. "I dream the car is coming back. I dream I can't run away fast enough." Rachel's tears finally spilled over. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry." Quote. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that would echo in Rachel's mind for the rest of her life. "My therapist says that sometimes people who hurt you can become people who protect you. She says people can change if they really want to." "I really want to," Rachel whispered. "I promise you, Emma, I really want to change." Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper. She held it out to Rachel. It was a drawing, done in crayon. It showed a woman in an orange vest holding a stop sign. Stick figure children cross the street safely. At the top, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, it said, "Thank you for keeping kids safe." Rachel took the drawing with shaking hands. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This child, this precious child she'd almost killed, was thanking her for doing what she should have done from the beginning. "I forgive you," Emma said simply, "but don't hit any more kids." Like this video if Emma's forgiveness just broke your heart in the best way possible. "I won't," Rachel managed. "I promise you, Emma, I will never, ever let another child get hurt if I can prevent it." Quote. Emma nodded, satisfied. Then she turned and walked back to her mother. Jennifer Chen looked at Rachel for a long moment. No words passed between them, but understanding did. Rachel had been given a gift beyond measure. She'd been given forgiveness she didn't deserve and hadn't earned yet. Jennifer and Emma got back in their car and drove away. Rachel stood at the crosswalk, holding the crayon drawing, sobbing. Dorothy Patterson had watched the entire exchange from the school entrance. She walked over and put a hand on Rachel's shoulder. "That child is wiser than most adults I know," Dorothy said. "I don't deserve her forgiveness," Rachel said. "No," Dorothy agreed. "But you've been given it anyway. Now you have to decide what you'll do with it. Will you waste it? Or will you let it transform you completely?" Quote. Rachel looked down at the drawing. At the stick figure woman protecting stick figure children. "I'm going to earn it. Even if it takes the rest of my life, I'm going to earn it." Quote. Share this story with everyone who needs to see the power of redemption and forgiveness. The school year started the following Tuesday. Rachel was there at 2:30 p.m. sharp, ready for her first official day with students returning. At 3 p.m., the dismissal bell rang and children flooded out. Among them was Emma Chen, holding her brother Jason's hand. Emma saw Rachel at the crosswalk. She paused, just for a second. Rachel held her breath, terrified that seeing her in this context would trigger a panic attack or flashback. But Emma took a deep breath and walked toward the crosswalk. When she reached Rachel, Emma looked up and gave a small wave. Rachel waved back, her heart in her throat. Then Emma and Jason crossed safely, and Emma continued to her mother's car without looking back. It was a small moment, but it was everything. Over the following months, this became routine. Emma would wave. Rachel would wave back. Some days Emma would say hi. Some days she wouldn't, but every single day, Emma crossed that street, conquering her fear one step at a time. Rachel's presentations at Providence High School became increasingly powerful. Word spread. Other schools requested her. She spoke at Classical High School, Mount Pleasant High School, Central High School. She spoke to driver's education classes. She spoke at police academy trainings. Her story became a case study in the power of restorative justice. Judge Caprio followed her progress through regular probation reports. Each one showed perfect compliance. Every crosswalk shift completed. Every therapy payment made on time. Every letter sent. Every presentation delivered with raw honesty. In November, 9 months after the accident, Judge Caprio received a letter from Franklin Elementary School's principal, Dr. Rebecca Washington. It read, "Your Honor, I am writing to inform you of the extraordinary impact Rachel Morrison has had on our school community. Since she began her service here, we have had 0 traffic incidents in our crosswalk. Not one. Before Ms. Morrison, we averaged 3 to 4 close calls per year. Her vigilance is unmatched. More importantly, she has become a beloved fixture of our afternoon routine. Children trust her. Parents trust her. She has transformed from the person who nearly killed one of our students into the person who protects all of them. I wanted you to know that your sentence has created something beautiful from something tragic. Respectfully, Dr. Rebecca Washington." Drop a comment telling us if this is the most powerful story of redemption you've ever heard. Judge Caprio shared the letter with his clerk, Margaret Reynolds. "You were right to believe in her," Margaret said. "I believed in the possibility of change," Judge Caprio corrected. "Rachel did the actual work. She's the one who showed up every day. She's the one who faced her shame. She's the one who chose transformation over self-pity." In December, nearly 10 months after the accident, Rachel received an invitation. It was from Jennifer Chen. "Ms. Morrison, Emma's 8th birthday is on December 18th. She has asked if you could attend her party. I know this is an unusual request. You are under no obligation to accept. But Emma has told me that you are part of her story now, and she wants you there. If you're comfortable attending, the party is at 2 p.m. at Jump Zone on Reservoir Avenue. Please let me know. Jennifer." Rachel read the invitation 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Emma wanted her at her birthday party. The child she'd almost killed wanted her to celebrate another year of life. She called Jennifer that evening. "Mrs. Chen, I received Emma's invitation. Are you sure about this? I don't want to upset her or make her uncomfortable." Jennifer's voice was warm. "Rachel, Emma talks about you all the time. She tells her friends about the lady at the crosswalk who keeps everyone safe. She's proud that you're changing. She wants you there. And honestly, I think I do too. I think we all need to see that grace and redemption are possible." "I'll be there," Rachel promised. "Thank you for this. Thank you for everything." Hit that subscribe button because this birthday party is going to bring tears to your eyes. December 18th arrived cold and clear. Rachel showed up at Jump Zone at 1:55 p.m., holding a carefully wrapped present. She'd spent hours choosing the perfect gift, a book about a girl who overcame her fears to become a veterinarian. Because Emma still wanted to be a veterinarian. The accident hadn't taken her dreams, just made the path harder. The party was in full swing when Rachel arrived. Children bounced in inflatable jump houses, played arcade games, laughed with pure joy. Jennifer saw Rachel and walked over. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me." Emma spotted Rachel from across the room. She said something to her friends and ran over, her limp now barely noticeable. "You came!" Quote, "I wouldn't miss it," Rachel said. "Happy birthday, Emma." "I'm 8 now. That means I'm old enough to help at the crosswalk next year when I'm in 3rd grade. Rachel's heart swelled. "You want to help at the crosswalk?" Quote, "Yeah, I want to keep kids safe too, just like you." The gift of those words. The absolute grace of a child who wanted to be like the person who had hurt her because that person had chosen to change. Rachel knelt down and hugged Emma. "You already keep kids safe just by being brave enough to cross that street every day. You show them it's okay to be afraid and do it anyway." Quote. Emma hugged her back. "Will you play arcade games with me?" Quote. "Absolutely." They spent the next hour playing skee-ball, racing games, and attempting the claw machine. Emma introduced Rachel to her friends as the lady who helps us cross the street. No mention of the accident, just the present reality of who Rachel had become. Like this video if you believe this is what justice should look like. When it was time for cake, all the children gathered around. Emma stood on a chair to blow out her candles. Before she blew, she closed her eyes tight, making a wish. Then she opened them, looked directly at Rachel, and smiled. Rachel understood. Whatever Emma had wished for, it had something to do with hope, with healing, with the future. After the party, as parents collected their sugar-high children, Jennifer pulled Rachel aside. Jason was there too, his protective stance somewhat relaxed compared to that day in court. "Rachel," Jennifer began, "I want you to know that what you've done this past 10 months has been remarkable. You didn't just fulfill your sentence. You embraced it. You let it change you." Jason spoke up, his voice deeper now at 13. "I hated you. For months I hated you. I wanted you to suffer like Emma suffered. But then I saw how hard you worked. How you showed up every single day. How you told your story even when it hurt. And I realized that hate was just hurting me. So I'm choosing something else." Quote. He held out his hand. Rachel took it, shaking hands with the boy who had saved his sister's life. "Thank you, Jason. Thank you for giving me a chance to be better." "Don't waste it," he said seriously. "I won't. Share this with everyone who believes that second chances can transform lives." The months continued to pass. Rachel completed her presentations, her crosswalk shifts, her letters, her therapy payments. In March 2024, exactly 1 year after her sentencing, she stood in Judge Caprio's courtroom once again. This was her 1-year review hearing. The courtroom was packed. Word had spread about the case. Jennifer and Emma Chen were there. Jason was there. Dorothy Patterson from Franklin Elementary. Dr. Rebecca Washington, the principal. Students from Providence High School who had heard Rachel's presentation. Officer Daniel Chen and Officer Maria Santos. Even some of the jurors from the original case had shown up to see the outcome. Judge Caprio entered and everyone stood. He sat and gestured for everyone else to do the same. "We're here today for the 1-year review of Rachel Morrison's sentence. Ms. Morrison, please approach the bench." Rachel walked forward, her heart pounding. She was a different person than the woman who had stood at this podium a year ago. She wore simple clothes, no designer labels. Her hair was pulled back, practically. Her face showed the marks of someone who had done hard emotional work. She looked tired. She looked humble. She looked transformed. "Ms. Morrison," Judge Caprio began, "I have your probation reports here. Perfect compliance. Not a single missed shift. Not a late payment. Every letter sent on time. Dozens of presentations delivered. I also have letters from Franklin Elementary, from Providence High School, from the Chen family. They all say the same thing. You have not just fulfilled your sentence. You have exceeded it. How do you explain that?" Quote. Drop a comment telling us if you think Rachel has earned her redemption. Rachel took a breath. "Your Honor, a year ago I stood here and barely understood what I'd done. I knew intellectually that I'd hurt someone, but I didn't feel it. I didn't comprehend it. You made me feel it. Every day at that crosswalk, I feel it. Every time I tell my story to teenagers, I feel it. Every time I write to Emma, I feel it. And that feeling has changed me in ways I can't fully express." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I used to think I was a good person who made one mistake. Now I understand that I was a person capable of terrible things who got a chance to become better. There's a difference. The first is passive. The second requires active, daily choice. Every morning I wake up and choose to be better than I was. Some days it's easy. Some days it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But I keep choosing it." Quote. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. "Mrs. Chen, I'd like to hear from you." Jennifer Chen stood up. "Your Honor, when you gave Rachel this sentence, I agreed to it because I wanted my daughter to see that justice could be more than vengeance. I wanted Emma to understand that people can change. But I had doubts. I wondered if I'd made a mistake, if I'd been too soft, if Rachel would actually follow through." She turned to look at Rachel. "You proved me wrong. You didn't just complete your requirements. You became part of our healing. Emma is thriving now. She's back to gymnastics. She's getting straight A's. She wants to be a veterinarian and a crossing guard when she grows up. That's because of you. Because you showed her that even people who hurt us can become people who protect us. Jennifer's voice grew stronger. Your Honor, I'm here today to ask you to consider reducing Rachel's remaining sentence. She has 2 years left on her probation. I believe she's already learned what she needed to learn. I believe she's already become who she needs to be. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Judge Caprio raised his hand for silence. Ms. Morrison, how do you respond to Mrs. Chen's request? Quote, hit that subscribe button because Rachel's answer is going to surprise you. Rachel shook her head slowly. Your Honor, with all due respect to Mrs. Chen's incredible generosity, I don't want my sentence reduced. I want to complete the full 3 years. Not because I have to, because I need to. Judge Caprio leaned forward, interested. Explain. Your Honor, standing at that crosswalk isn't punishment anymore. It's purpose. Those children depend on me. I've watched them grow over the past year. I know their names, I know their routines. I know which ones are careful and which ones need extra watching. If I stop now, I'm abandoning them. I can't do that. She took a breath. And the presentations, the letters, all of it. This isn't just about making amends anymore. It's become who I am. I'm the person who stands at the crosswalk. I'm the person who tells teenagers the truth about consequences. I'm the person who helps Emma understand that change is possible. If I stop, I lose that identity. And honestly, I like who I've become so much more than who I was. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Rachel continued, tears in her eyes but her voice steady. When I complete my full 3 years, I want to continue. I want to volunteer at that crosswalk for as long as Franklin Elementary will have me. I want to keep giving presentations. I want to keep writing to Emma if she'll let me. Because this isn't punishment anymore, Your Honor. This is my life's work. You didn't just sentence me to consequences. You sentenced me to purpose. And I'm grateful for it. Quote, like this video if Rachel's transformation is the most powerful thing you've seen today. Judge Caprio was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice thick with emotion. Ms. Morrison, in my 30 years on this bench, I have sentenced thousands of people. Some learned their lesson, most didn't. But I have never, not once, seen someone embrace their sentence the way you have. I have never seen someone use punishment as a vehicle for complete transformation. He looked out at the packed courtroom. This is why I believe in restorative justice. Not because it's easier. It's not. It's much harder than simply locking someone up. But when it works, when someone truly commits to change, the ripple effects are immeasurable. Ms. Morrison didn't just change herself. She changed Emma's recovery. She changed how hundreds of teenagers think about driving. She changed how a community views justice. That is the power of giving someone a chance to be better. He brought his gavel down firmly. Rachel Morrison, your sentence will continue as originally stated. You will complete your full 3 years of probation. However, I am officially commending you for extraordinary compliance and personal growth. This commendation will be part of your permanent record. It will show that you didn't just serve your sentence. You transformed because of it. Quote, the courtroom erupted in applause. Emma Chen jumped up and down excitedly. Jennifer wiped tears from her eyes. Jason nodded with respect. Dorothy Patterson smiled proudly. The students from Providence High School cheered. Rachel Morrison stood at the podium, overwhelmed by the grace she'd been shown. She'd walked into this courtroom a year ago as one person, and was walking out as someone completely different. Share this story with everyone who's ever wondered if people can truly change, because this is proof that they can. As the courtroom cleared, Emma ran up to Rachel. You get to stay at the crosswalk. Quote, I do, Rachel said, kneeling down to Emma's level. Is that okay with you? Quote, it's perfect, Emma said. Because next year when I'm in 3rd grade, I get to be a patrol helper. Mrs. Patterson said so. That means we'll work together. Quote. Rachel's heart swelled with emotion. I can't wait. You're going to be the best crossing guard Franklin Elementary has ever seen. Second best, Emma corrected with a grin. You're the best. The 2 years that followed were transformative not just for Rachel, but for the entire community. Her story spread. Local news covered it. Then regional news. Then a segment on a national morning show. The Woman Who Changed, a story of justice and redemption. Rachel handled the attention with grace, always redirecting focus to Emma's bravery and Judge Caprio's wisdom. She used the platform to advocate for restorative justice practices, speaking at legal conferences and criminal justice reform panels. But more importantly, she kept showing up. Every Tuesday and Thursday at Franklin Elementary, every month with presentations at high schools, every letter to Emma, which had evolved from apologies to friendly updates about life, books, and dreams for the future. Drop a comment and tell us if this is the most powerful example of justice you've ever seen. In May 2026, Rachel Morrison completed her 3-year sentence. The celebration at Franklin Elementary was enormous. Students made signs. "Thank you, Miss Rachel. Best crossing guard ever. We love you." Emma, now 10 years old and fully healed physically, gave a speech at the celebration. "When I was 7, something really scary happened to me. A car hit me, and I got really hurt. I was afraid all the time, afraid of cars, afraid of streets, afraid of everything. But then something amazing happened. The person who hurt me decided to become the person who protects me and everyone else. Miss Rachel taught me that people can change. She taught me that being brave means showing up even when you're scared. She taught me that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing hope instead of hate." Emma looked directly at Rachel, who was openly crying. "Miss Rachel, you kept me safe for 3 years. But more than that, you showed me that even when bad things happen, good things can come from them. You're my hero. And I hope you never stop being a crossing guard, because we need you." The crowd erupted in applause. Rachel hugged Emma tightly. This child who had given her more than she could ever repay. Purpose, redemption, a reason to be better every single day. Judge Caprio attended the celebration. In a brief speech, he said, "Rachel Morrison's sentence technically ended today. But I have a feeling her work has just begun. Because transformation isn't a destination. It's a daily practice. And Rachel has shown us all what it looks like to practice transformation with commitment and grace." Like this video if you believe this is what the justice system should strive for. Rachel did continue. Even after her sentence ended, she showed up at Franklin Elementary every Tuesday and Thursday. She continued giving presentations, now titled The Power of Second Chances. She started a nonprofit called Emma's Crossing, dedicated to school zone safety and restorative justice education. Emma became a junior crossing guard, working alongside Rachel. The sight of them together, the victim and the person who had hurt her, now partners in protection, became a symbol for the entire Providence community. Years passed. Emma graduated from elementary school, then middle school. She maintained her dream of becoming a veterinarian. She also became an advocate for restorative justice, speaking alongside Rachel at events. In 2030, 7 years after the accident, Emma Chen gave the keynote speech at her high school graduation. She was 18 now, poised and confident, with only the slightest limp remaining as evidence of that terrible day. 7 years ago, Emma began. "I learned the most important lesson of my life, though I didn't know it at the time. I learned that people are capable of terrible things. But more importantly, I learned that people are capable of incredible change. Rachel Morrison hit me with her car when I was 7 years old. She almost killed me, and then she spent the next 7 years making sure nothing like that ever happened to anyone else." Quote, she paused, looking out at the audience where Rachel sat next to Jennifer, Jason, and Judge Caprio, who had become like family over the years. "Miss Rachel is here today, and she's been at every major event in my life since the accident. Not because she had to be, because she chose to be. She chose to turn her worst moment into her life's purpose. And in doing so, she taught me that our worst moments don't define us. Our response to them does. Share this video because this ending will restore your faith in humanity." Emma continued, "I'm going to college in the fall to study veterinary medicine. But I'm also studying criminal justice because I believe in the kind of justice that transforms instead of just punishes. I believe in the kind of justice Judge Caprio showed when he gave Rachel a chance to be better. I believe in the kind of justice that creates healing instead of just consequences. She looked directly at Rachel. Miss Rachel, thank you for choosing to change. Thank you for showing up every day for 7 years. Thank you for protecting me and every other kid at Franklin Elementary. You gave me my safety back. But more than that, you gave me a living example of redemption, and that's a gift I'll carry forever. The audience gave a standing ovation. Rachel was sobbing, as was most of the crowd. Judge Caprio, now 86 years old, stood and applauded with tears streaming down his weathered face. This was why he'd believed in restorative justice for 37 years. This moment, this transformation, this healing. After the ceremony, the group gathered for photos. Emma, in her graduation gown, stood between Rachel and her mother. Jason, now 22, and a police officer like his uncle, joined them. Judge Caprio stood with his hand on Rachel's shoulder. "You did it," he said quietly to Rachel. "You took your worst moment and transformed it into your greatest legacy." "No, Your Honor," Rachel replied. "You did it. You saw potential in me when I couldn't see it myself. You believed I could change before I believed it. You gave me the structure to become someone worth being." "I provided the opportunity," Judge Caprio corrected. "You did the work." Drop one final comment telling us what this story taught you about justice, redemption, or second chances. As the sun set over Providence that evening, Rachel Morrison drove her modest Toyota Camry home. She passed Franklin Elementary and smiled. Come Tuesday, she'd be back at the crosswalk, not because a judge required it, not because she was serving a sentence, but because she'd found her purpose in the place she'd almost destroyed everything. She thought about the woman she'd been 7 years ago, arrogant, self-centered, rushing to a hair appointment while a child lay bleeding. She barely recognized that person anymore. She thought about Emma Chen, now 18 and heading to college, strong, brave, forgiving beyond measure, a young woman who had every right to hate her but chose grace instead. She thought about Judge Frank Caprio, the man who believed people could change and built a career on giving them the chance to prove it. Most of all, she thought about the thousands of children she'd helped cross safely over 7 years, each one someone's Emma, each one precious and irreplaceable, each one proof that second chances, when earned through daily commitment, could ripple out into the world in ways impossible to measure. Rachel Morrison had mocked a judge 7 years ago. She'd minimized her crime. She'd shown no remorse. She'd been arrogant, dismissive, and cruel. That woman no longer existed. In her place stood someone who understood that justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about transformation. It was about giving people the structure, accountability, and opportunity to become better than they'd been. It was about second chances, not easy ones, not free ones, but real ones, earned through daily choice and unwavering commitment. And as Rachel Morrison pulled into her driveway that evening, she whispered a prayer of gratitude. Gratitude for the accident that hadn't killed Emma. Gratitude for the judge who had seen potential in her darkness. Gratitude for the Chen family's incomprehensible grace. Gratitude for 7 years of purpose. Tomorrow she would wake up and choose to be better again. And the day after that. And the day after that. For the rest of her life. Because that's what redemption required. Not a single moment of change, but 10,000 moments of choosing differently. That was justice. That was mercy. That was grace. That was the power of a second chance, earned one day at a time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because next week we're bringing you another incredible story of justice served. Drop a comment telling us what moment in this story impacted you the most. Like this video if you believe in second chances. Share it with someone who needs to see that change is possible. And remember, every day we get to choose who we'll be. Choose wisely. Choose kindness. Choose transformation, because you never know when your worst moment might become your opportunity for greatest growth. Thank you for watching. See you next time.